So in this lecture, we will move on to the subsurface drainage system. So we have already discussed about the surface drainage system and its design. So in this lecture, we will see we will move on to the subsurface drainage system. So in that, we will see the purpose and benefits of subsurface drainage system, and the different design parameters, the parameters which we have to find out before designing a subsurface drainage system. So all that things we will discuss. The various design parameters for a subsurface drainage system are drainage porosity, water table, hydraulic conductivity, etc. So we will see the drainage porosity and water table in this lecture, and we will see hydraulic conductivity in the next lecture. So all these things we will discuss today. And first we will see what is subsurface drainage. You all know that surface drainage is the removal of excess water from the surface of the land, while subsurface drainage is the removal of water from below the root zone, or from the root zone of the crops. It is accomplished by deep open drains or buried pipelines. So this is the definition given by FAO, Food and Agricultural Organization, in 1985. As per their definition, subsurface drainage is the removal of excess water from the root zone accomplished by deep open drains or buried pipelines. So this is the main definition which you have to study. And it is an important conservation practice for the land. Poorly drained land, when drained, may be farmed with little or no erosion hazard. So erosion will be reduced by this process. And many soils have poor natural drainage. When properly drained, rated among the most productive soils in the world. When proper drainage system is adopted in poorly drained land, they have become more productive. So this is the benefit of subsurface drainage system. So we will see in detail the different benefits of subsurface drainage system. First benefit is aeration of the soil. Of course, when excess water is removed from the soil, air has a chance to enter into the soil, which causes aeration of the soil, which is very good for plants, and desirable microorganisms can live in it. Second benefit is increased length of growing season because of earlier possible planting dates. So we can plant the crops earlier because of proper drainage. And decreased possibility of adversely affecting soil tilth. Tillage condition of the soil is not adversely affected. Improvement of the soil water condition, of course, due to drainage, the soil water conditions will improve, and it will remove toxic substances such as salts that in some soils retard plant growth. So, a certain amount of drainage water can remove certain kinds of toxic salts. And greater storage capacity for water. If we are giving irrigation or rainfall is there, it can store that water because some amount of soil are free from water. So that is another benefit. And final and indirect benefit is enhances the farm productivity by adding productive land, increasing the yield and quality of crops, permitting good soil management, ensuring that crops may be planted and harvested at optimum dates, eliminating inefficient machine operation caused by small wetlands and fields. Due to all these things, it will enhance the farm productivity. So these are the major benefits of subsurface drainage. Now we will move on to the investigation parameters which we have to find out before designing a subsurface drainage system. So there are mainly three parameters. One is the drainable porosity, second one is water table, and the third one is hydraulic conductivity. Anyway, we will see these two in today's class. What are these terms meant for, and how we can find these two parameters by lab method or field method. So these are the things which we will see today. First, we will see drainable porosity. It is the volume of water drained by gravity per unit volume of saturated soil. So, what do you mean by saturated soil? When all the soil pores are filled with water, that condition is known as saturation. So, from a saturated soil, how much amount of water will be drained by means of gravity? It is known as drainable porosity. It is also known as effective porosity, specific yield, or storage coefficient. So these are other scientific terms which we use to represent this drainable porosity. And the concept of drainable porosity is applicable for saturated soils only and is very important for the analysis of unsteady flow. And it is a function of time and water table depth. So we will see when the amount of water drained depends upon the size of pores present in the soil. So the amount of water drained by gravity depends upon the size of pores present in the soil. When there are large sized pores, the drainable porosity will be higher. When there are small sized pores, the drainable porosity will be lower, and the water will be drained slowly. And the volume of water drained under gravity by coarse textured soil is more than that of fine textured soil, because coarse textured soil will have larger sized pores, so it can drain more water, while fine textured soil will have small and narrow pores in it, so it cannot drain much amount of water. Now we will see how to determine this drainable porosity, and it is measured in laboratory by means of a hanging water column apparatus, which is suitable for a tension range of 0 to 150 centimeter. So in this figure you can see this is known as hanging water column apparatus. Here a saturated sand column is hanged from a sample holder. Here we can see there is a container. Here in that aluminum container there is a saturated sand column is there. It is hanged from a wall, and this saturated sand column is connected with a tube, and finally it is connected to a burette containing distilled water in it. So this is the apparatus which is used to find the drainable porosity in laboratory conditions. In the first figure, so this is the first figure. In this figure we can see that the level of saturated sand column in this container will be equal to the burette, water in this burette. The two levels will be equal. Okay, so in this case there is no tension applied to this saturated sand column. Now when we lowers this burette, the stage of this burette, we are lowering the burette, so at that time what will happen, a pressure will be inserted into this saturated water column. So due to that pressure, the water from the saturated water column will move through this tube to the burette. So here the level of water in the burette will increase. So this thing we will repeat this. We will lower this burette until there is a condition reached where the pressure in this saturated water column will be equal to the drainage pressure. So we will use majorly 2 meter pressure, I think. So that much pressure will be inserted into the saturated water column by lowering this burette. So while lowering this burette, the water from the saturated water column will be filled in this burette, and this amount of water will be measured. Volume of water collected in the burette will be measured, and the sample volume will also be measured. The ratio between these two will give the drainable porosity. So this is the experiment which we will do in laboratory for finding drainable porosity. So here I have explained this procedure in a detailed manner. First we will take the undisturbed soil sample from the field, and it is saturated using hanging water column apparatus. It is saturated for 24 hours depending on the soil type. Now the water level in the burette is maintained at the same level as the top of the porous plate. First we will maintain a same level for the burette water level and the saturated soil column. Now the burette is lowered by a certain distance. We will usually use steps of 10 centimeter. First we will lower 10 centimeter. After that we will give the apparatus some time for removing the water. Again we will lower by 10 centimeter. So like that we will lower that burette, and this lowering of burette will impart a suction to the sample, which causes the water to drain slowly. The drained water raises the water level in the burette. Of course, when water is drained from the saturated soil sample, it will give a rise of water in the burette. The rise in water level is adjusted by readjusting the burette height. Originally applied suction is closely maintained. When no further rise in water level in burette is observed, now we can say that the average suction applied to the soil sample is equal to elevation difference between the top of the porous plate and the water level in the burette. So this will give the average suction. Initial and final burette reading will give the volume of water drained from the soil sample, and the process is repeated until the desired suction for drainage is obtained. So this process is repeated, and the drainable porosity is equal to the volume of water drained divided by the volume of sample. Very simple. Mainly we will apply a pressure less than 2 meter because it is enough for drainage. So 2 meter pressure is mainly applied. That is, we will lower first 10 centimeter, 10 centimeter, 10 centimeter, and like that we can lower up to 2 meter. That is the thing. The drainable porosity can be measured in the field by observing the subsurface drain discharge and the water table precision. So in field we can measure this drainable porosity by means of two terms. One is subsurface drain discharge. We will see how much is the amount of water discharged by the drainage system, and we will see the decrease in water table due to this drainage. So these two things we will see, and we will take the ratio of these two will give the drainable porosity. So here you can see in field condition, you can measure the drainable porosity by means of this equation. So Z2 and Z1 are the water table depth at two times, time 2 and time 1, T2 and T1. And theta 2 and theta 1 is Z. Theta 2 is Z and theta 1 is Z are the moisture content or soil water content as a function of the depth at time T2 and time T1. So by taking the ratio of the differences of the soil moisture content divided by the differences of this water table depth, we will get the drainable porosity. So we can say that, we can give another definition for drainable porosity. It is the ratio of change in soil water content in the soil profile above the water table to the corresponding rise or fall of water table in the absence of evaporation. So this is the another definition for drainable porosity. Now we will see the percentage of drainable porosity for different types of soil. Here for dense clay it is very much lower, 1 to 2 is the 1 to 2% is the drainable porosity for dense clay, because clay is a very fine textured particle, so it has very small sized pores, so amount of water drained will be lesser. While in case of coarse sand, it is very large particle and it will have very large sized pores. So due to that, amount of water drained will be higher. So the drainable porosity is also higher. It will be 25 to 35. All these values are taken from Smebeda and Rycroft in 1983. Their article, I have taken these values. Now we will move on to the second design parameter. It is the water table or groundwater depth. So this is another parameter which will depend on the design of subsurface drainage system. The depth, fluctuation and quality of groundwater are needed for planning subsurface drainage system. For finding all these things, we will use two instruments or two methods. One is piezometer and the other one is observation wells. So we will see each of them. So in this figure, we can see both this monitoring well or observation well and piezometers. So both are there in this figure. So we can see both are same. Both are a 2.5 centimeter or 5 centimeter pipe inserted into the ground up to the water table. But the difference is, in case of observation well, all the surface of the observation well will be given with perforations. So water can enter from all the sides and from the bottom. Okay. In case of piezometer, the porous or perforations will be given at the bottom only. Water can enter into the well only by this perforated bottom. It cannot enter into the well from the sides and all. So this is the difference between observation well and piezometer. Another difference is piezometer will be used to find the pressure of water at this bottom portion. It finds the hydrostatic pressure, the pressure of water at this point. So that is the purpose of piezometer. While observation well will give the water level of that particular strata of soil. So it will give the level of water. So these is the two things which are used to find the groundwater quality, fluctuation or level. Now first we will see the piezometer. It is a small diameter pipe which is usually 2.5 centimeter in diameter, which is installed vertically into the ground. It is also known as pressure meter. When the soil strata contains permeable as well as impermeable formation, we will use this piezometers. When both are there, permeable and impermeable layers are there, we will use this piezometer for finding the pressure of water. So it indicates the hydrostatic pressure of groundwater at specific point in the soil where the lower end of the tube is located. The entrance of water into the pipe is through the open bottom only. There is no leakage from the sides. So this is about piezometer. Now we will see the installation of piezometer. How we will install the piezometer into the ground. So you know that it is a pipe, 2.5 centimeter diameter pipe, and which should be installed up to the water table or below the water table. So how we can install this much length of small diameter pipe into this water table vertically? So we have to install it vertically. It should not be installed inclined, in an inclined position or sloppy position. We have to insert it vertically. So how we can install it? So the small diameter pipes are taken, about 2.5 centimeter diameter pipes are taken. In piezometer there is no leakage around the pipe. So we have already seen that there is only one opening from the bottom. The pipes are installed in vertical position in same manner as the tube wells are drilled, but on small size. So it should be installed vertically down. Installation can be done either by driving. Driving means we will place the pipe and we will use a hammer to drive the pipe into the soil. So that is driving. Or using a high pressure water jet. In this process we will use high pressure of water jet. A water stream is used. High pressure water stream is used for removing the soil and for driving or placing that pipe into the soil. Or by percussion method. Percussion is again hammer plus this water. So that method is used depending on the depth of penetration. So we will see the different installation procedures later. Normally the piezometers and observation wells are usually installed on a grid pattern. A number of piezometers and observation wells should be placed in a field for finding the correct or accurate value of groundwater table or hydrostatic pressure. So we will place it in a grid pattern. So we will place at equal distances in a grid pattern, extending the entire farm, or if necessary, the area adjoining the farm contributing the seepage into it. So for in all that area, we will place the piezometers in a grid pattern. A number of piezometers will be placed at equal distances. Normally the grid spacing will be 30 to 300 meter depending on the precision required. If more precision is required, we have to place more number of piezometers. So the grid size will be lesser. If less precision is required, then we can place only a small number of piezometers. So the grid size will be higher, 300 meters we can take. So that is the thing. At each grid point, 2 or more piezometers may be installed. So there are a number of grids. At each grid point, 2 or more may be placed. May be installed at varying depths depending on the stratification of the formation. And the minimum spacing between individual piezometers in a battery is 60 centimeters. So there are a number of grids. At each grid point, we are placing a number of piezometers at different depth. So each of these piezometers should be at a distance of 60 meter. They all will be placed to a same battery. And there should be a close fit of the pipe in the soil. Pipe should be closely fitted to the soil. An observation of water table levels in piezometers located at different depths indicate the existence of hydraulic pressure causing either upward or downward movement of water. Now we have already seen that we will place a number of piezometers at the same point at different depth. So what is the purpose of that? If we are seeing water levels in that piezometers, if the water levels in that piezometers is different, then we can say that there is a pressure difference at that point. That thing we can see. So that from that information we can see that there will be an upward or downward movement of water in that portion. If there is a difference in levels of water in the piezometers placed at the same position, then we can assume that there will be a movement of water in that position, either upward or downward. That is the thing. For that purpose, we are placing a number of piezometers at the same grid point. Installation could be either by driving or jetting or percussion method, and it can be driven vertically into the ground. We will see the installation procedures. When the piezometers are installed by driving, we will use this procedure. First, we will use a centering table, just like our plane table used for surveying. The centering table is used for uh, placing the pipe vertically down the ground. That is only purpose of this centering table and bubble tube. Okay. So this table is used for placing the tube vertically into the ground, driving the tube vertically into the ground. Now the pipe is fitted with, so we'll take the pipe, it will be a 2.5 centimeter long pipe, and the pipe is fitted with a driving head to protect the upper end from hammer blows. We are hammering the pipe into the ground. So while hammering, there may be chances of some distortions on the surface of the pipe or edge of the pipe. So for avoiding that distortions or whatever it is, we will place a driving head over the pipe. So above that we will apply the hammer. And at the lower end of the pipe will be protected with a headed rivet, round headed rivet. So lower end should have a penetrating end in order to penetrate the pipe into the soil. So for that we will provide a round headed rivet. And after penetrating this entire pipe into the soil, we will remove this rivet by means of some flushing or by applying some force or something. The rivet is forced deeper into the soil by driving it with a steel rod or ham. When the piezometer is at the required depth, leave the end of the pipe open. Soil inside the pipe is taken out by a screw auger. An auger is used for removing the soil inside the pipe. After removing all the soil, we will flush it. We will flush the tube. Okay. And for successful operation of the piezometer, the soil at the lower end of the piezometer is removed by flushing with water. So it will form a small cavity of about 15 centimeter depth at the bottom of the pipe. This flushing is a periodical process. We have to flush the piezometer once in every 6 months or frequently, or even frequently we have to flush it. Otherwise the piezometers will be clogged with soil. So for avoiding this, we have to flush the piezometer. So we will use a piston pump, portable piston pump, a water drum and a plastic tubing for flushing purposes. So now if you are using jetting method for the installation of piezometers, we will use this procedure. A high pressure stream of water is pumped through a hose connected to the piezometer pipe. A piezometer pipe is there, a hose is there, hose is placed inside the pipe, and we will use a high pressure stream of water. We will pump a high pressure stream of water through this pipe. So what will happen? The pipe is then forced by hand into the ground to the required depth. When this water comes out of this tube, the soil at the downward position will be removed automatically. Now we will force the pipe with our hand. So it will be easy to insert the pipe using our hand due to this high pressure stream of water. The water washes an opening ahead of the pipe into which it can be pushed. The water prevents the pipe from being plugged with soil. So this is a procedure for installing piezometer. Now we will move on to observation wells. Observation wells are a small hole dug or augered or a small perforated pipe driven into the ground for the purpose of observing the fluctuations in water table. Earlier that piezometers were used for removing that finding that hydrostatic pressure of water. Here this is used for finding the fluctuations in water table. And the measurement from the observation wells indicates the depth of water table from the ground level at any point of time. So it will represent the depth of water table. When the soil is sandy and the hole is likely to collapse, an auger hole may be cased with perforated casing. If we are just placing a hole, just making a hole instead of inserting a pipe, then in case of sandy soil we have to give a casing. Otherwise it is not necessary for giving the pipe or casing for observation wells. That is the thing. It is just like a normal tube well. It can be used like a normal tube well. Either it can be provided with a casing or not. Observation wells are usually installed to a depth deep enough to penetrate the minimum expected position of water table. So it should be inserted below the water table normally. And water enters into the well through the entire section located below the water table. It can enter the water can be entered into the observation well from either the sides or from the bottom. The level of water surface in the well indicates the water table at that time of measurement. How much amount of water is there in the well? It shows the water table of that particular location. That is the measurement. Say 2.5 centimeter diameter galvanized iron pipe is usually used in making observation wells if it is cased. The section of observation well which would lie within the maximum water table expected is screened. It will give perforations. We will give perforations to the pipe the size of perforations is fixed on the basis of the particle size distribution of the strata. So whatever soil present there, the particle size of the soil present there will influence the size of perforations on the observation well. Commonly used perforation size is 3 millimeter. So we will give 3 millimeter holes on the pipe normally. And the perforation should be such that it should provide a space of 20% of open area. The pipe, out of the total pipe, 20% should be the open area. It should have 20% of holes in it. That is a condition for making holes in observation wells or PVC pipes for making observation wells. Now, in case if very fine particles are there in the formation material or the soil, now we have to provide gravel packing. So, if fine materials are there, then these fine materials will reach the observation well, will enter into the observation well through the perforations. For avoiding this, we will provide a gravel packing. So, for that purpose, if we need a 2.5 centimeter observation well, we will first dig a hole of 5 centimeter. We will dig a hole of 5 centimeter. We will insert this 2.5 centimeter pipe into it. Now, there is an annular space between this pipe and the hole. This annular space will be filled with gravel to retain about 90% of formation material. So, this is the process of providing gravel pack. And when the formation material comprises of coarse particles, a coir strainer with a coir rope wound around the perforated portion of the observation well pipe is used. So if it has a coarse particle, then we will provide a coir rope above the perforations of the pipe. Now how to install these observation wells? So it is again same as that of this piezometers. Installation could be either by driving or using high pressure water jet or by percussion method depending on the depth of penetration. Now how can we take the observations from piezometers and observation wells? What are the different observations we have to take from this piezometers and observation wells? That we will see in this slide. For taking observations, before that we have to do one thing. The elevation of the ground surface at the piezometric or the observation well station are established with reference to a permanent benchmark. We have to first find the elevation of that particular point where we are going to install the piezometer or observation well. So it should be based on a particular permanent benchmark. Okay, elevation is very important here. So a permanent benchmark, for example, if we are taking the sea level, mean sea level, or from the mean sea level, how much is the elevation of that particular point? That we have to know. And now we will insert the pipe, the piezometer or observation well we will insert. After that, the height of the pipe above the ground surface is noted. Some portion of the pipe will be above the ground surface. That portion will be noted. That height will be noted. And the distance from the top of the pipe to the water surface is measured with an electrical depth gauge or a tape with a chalk end. So we will use a depth gauge for measuring the distance of water from the top of the pipe. So these two distances we will measure. And now the observation reading is equal to the distance from the top of the pipe to the water surface minus the height of the pipe above the ground surface. So that is the observation reading. That will give the depth to the water surface. So that is how we will take the reading. And observations are taken periodically on all the piezometers and observation wells in the farm. The frequency of observations, how much time we will take the observation will depend on the expected fluctuation of water table. The fluctuation of water table is very higher. That means if continuously it is raining and all, we have to take the reading daily. Otherwise, it is necessary to take the reading only once in a month or once in 2 weeks or like that. And the interpretation of piezometer and observation well readings can give the location, the direction of groundwater flow and the depth to the water table. So all these things it can give. The direction of groundwater flow, how the groundwater is flowing, in which direction it is flowing. The depth to the groundwater table, how much is the depth of the groundwater table from the surface of the soil. So all these things we can get from the reading of piezometer and observation wells. And finally, the readings are helpful in generating water table contour maps and isobath map. These are the two things which is very much necessary for designing a subsurface drainage system. Water table contour map and isobath map and observation well hydrographs are also there. So all these things can be derived from the readings of piezometers and observation wells. Hydraulic gradients can be measured by installing several piezometers side by side but at different depths below the soil surface. So if a number of piezometers are placed side by side at different depths below the soil surface, it can be used to measure the hydraulic gradient. Hydraulic gradient means the slope the slope by which groundwater is flowing. That is known as hydraulic gradient. And if two piezometers are placed, and if you are measuring the groundwater levels of the piezometers or the levels of water in the piezometers, now if you are seeing that the levels of water in the two piezometers side by side are different. Okay, if one piezometer has lesser amount of water and another piezometer has a higher amount of water, then we can say that there is a slope there is a hydraulic gradient there. Okay, so the flow of water will be from the higher piezometric level to the lower piezometric level. So that is how we can find the hydraulic gradient using piezometer reading. The water level in the deeper one is higher than in the shallower piezometer. A downward gradient is indicated. If there is no vertical movement of water either up or down, a single piezometer will give the water table depth at that site. So this is how we can take the readings. Now here we can see that here this is a single observation well or monitoring well. It can otherwise called as monitoring well. The monitoring well or observation will have perforations all through its length. Water will be entering from all the sides and from the bottom. Here there are a number of piezometers which are inserted at different depths. So water level in the piezometers will vary in this condition. If the water level is varying, then we can say that if the water level in the low piezometer is lower, we can say that there is a movement of water in this direction. So in piezometers, the water will be entering from the downward position only. Here also there is another picture of observation well and piezometer. You can check that. Now, from this piezometer reading or water table monitoring well reading, we can derive two things. One is water table contour map and the other one is isobath map or depth to water table map. How we can derive these things? So that we will see. First thing is water table contour map. It is otherwise known as water table isobar map because water table contour lines are the locus of points on the water table for which the hydraulic head is constant. The pressure of water is constant. That locus of points is known as water table contour lines. Okay, you all know that contour lines are the lines showing equal elevation points. So, in the case of water table also it is same. Whichever line shows the same hydraulic gradient, that lines are known as water table contour lines. The graph showing that lines are known as isobar map or water table contour map. So for constructing this water table contour map, we need two things. One is contour map of the land showing land surface elevation. That is contour map of the area. It is available in different departments, groundwater departments and all. It is available. And water levels of the surface waters from the ground surface on the date. So these water levels can be measured either by using piezometer or by using observation wells. So this is the reading from our observation well or piezometer. So these things, two things we have to know. And we can find the elevation of water table by using this equation. So this is very logical. You have to think about it. The land surface elevation, the elevation of the land surface from a particular benchmark minus the water level of the surface water from the ground surface will give you the elevation of the water table. So from that we will get the elevation of water table. Now we will draw this elevation of water table in a map. For that we need a number of points. If we are having a 10 points, we have to interpolate it into a number of points, 100 points or 200 points, we have to interpolate it. And after that we will draw it in the form of a graph. So this will be the graph. We will join all the equal elevation points of water table. So that lines are known as water table contour lines. For example, water table elevations having 408 centimeter elevation is drawn by using this line. All these points have the same elevation 408. So like that we have drawn the graph. So this graph is known as water table contour map. In this figure we can see that here there is a this red point, red side of this map will show the water table contour line. Of course all these are water table contour lines. We can just concentrate on this red portion. This is water table contour lines. Now we can see that here there is a circular thing. This circular line shows there is a water body present here. So this may be a well. And the groundwater flow will be perpendicular to this line. The groundwater flow will be perpendicular to these lines and it will reach this well. So when there is no other sources of water or no other things in a graph, we can say that the groundwater flow direction will be perpendicular to this water table contour lines. So that is our assumption from this graph. Flow of groundwater will be perpendicular to these lines. So here the water will be flowing in this direction. Here it will be flowing in this direction. So like that we can say. Okay. Now for constructing this graph, a proper contour interval should be chosen. So contour interval is, for example, there is a line here, 414 centimeter line. Here there is 412. So the contour interval between these two is 1 or 2 centimeters. So this contour interval we have to choose 2 meters. So we have to choose properly this contour interval. For flat water table, we can choose 0.25 to 0.5 meter. Or in steep water table we can choose 1 to 5 meter or even more. And the lines of equal water table elevations are drawn. The completed map represents the surface configuration of water table at that particular time. Direction of groundwater flow will be perpendicular to the water table contour lines that we have already seen. Now we will move on to the next graph which can be developed from the readings of piezometers and observation well, that is depth to water table map or isobath map. Isobath lines are the lines joining points having equal depth to the water table. From the surface of the soil, how much is the depth of water table? Earlier, it was from the bottom of the rock, from the bedrock, how much is the height of the water table? Earlier, in the isobar map or contour map, it was the depth of the water table. It is the elevation of the water table. It is not depth, it was the elevation of the water table. In this case, it is the depth to the water table from the surface of the soil. So the map showing all these lines are known as isobath maps. And there are some data needed for this map also. They are the contour map of the land showing ground surface elevation and the water table data. So we'll get the depth to the water table by minusing this ground surface elevation minus water table. Water table data we will get it from groundwater department and all. Ground surface elevation we will get it from contour maps. So by minusing or subtracting these two values we will get the depth to the water table at a particular location. And for getting more points having the depth to the water table, we have to interpolate or extrapolate the points. So this figure shows the depth to the water table map. So here also you can see that just like contours, the depth to the water table will be drawn by using some joining points. A proper contour interval should be chosen. Normally 50 centimeter contour interval is chosen. Where either the surface topography or the water table slope changes abruptly, more points of measurements are required for the accurate construction of equal depth to the water table line. So more points are needed. If more points are needed, we have to interpolate or extrapolate the available points. All points, so many points may not be available from a single graph or single contour map or single water table map. So we have to extrapolate or interpolate in between points. And line of equal depth to water table are drawn. The completed map shows the aerial delineation of depth to water table, which is usually the criterion for determining the need for surface drainage or subsurface drainage. Okay, so this is about today's lecture. Thank you.